Welcome to Lessons from the Cockpit. I'm Belinda Sandor. I'm your host. Let's get started. I'm Belinda Sandor. Welcome to Lessons from the Cockpit. We talk about tactical and practical things to really skyrocket your virtual assistant business, whether you're just starting out or you've been a VA for a while. So I'd love to hear where you're coming in from, and I'm very excited to talk today about boundary setting. Boundary setting is something that people struggle with in general. And in a VA business, when we're in service with our clients, it can be tricky for sure. So we're going to dive in. Now, Lessons from the Cockpit is brought to you by the VA Connection. And at the VA Connection, we work with aspiring and established virtual assistants to help them have thriving businesses. And we do this in our free online community, our courses, and our coaching programs. Okay, so let's hear where you're coming in from. So Tammy's here. Hi, you guys. Hello from rural Pennsylvania. That's awesome. So before we get into boundaries, I want to introduce myself. I see lots. I know that the Kickstart challenge is coming up here pretty soon, and what happens is that we get lots of new members when that happens. So I want to make sure that that you guys know who I am. So we've got Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, Copenhagen, Happy New Year, checking in from Arizona. That's great, you guys. I love that. I love how much our community has grown and how, we're in so many countries and so many parts of the world. It's very, very exciting. So this is me, and I call her my little delish, Emily, my daughter. Back in 2010, when she was just 9 years old and I was starting my business as a VA. And it was a really challenging time for me. I had let things get out of control in terms of my finances. I didn't have a job. I had mountains of debt. I had tax things I need to handle. I was getting divorced. So now I'm a newly single mom, and there was a lot to navigate. And I've always been someone who, I like to go to bed the night before ready for the next day. That's always been my MO. And that's not where I was at that point in my life. And it was it was really scary. And it was also, I felt a little bit like my spirit was broken. And that was hard because I'm a pretty optimistic person. And to feel like my spirit was broken, that was difficult. I didn't know what to hope for. And, we all want something to hope for, at least I do, and something to look forward to. So anyway, so here we are. And I knew that I wanted to provide for Emily in a way from abundance, right? And not scarcity, and not we can't and we don't, and, all of that. So I had to figure that out. So I knew that getting a job wasn't going to be the answer. I knew that a 9 to 5, which was usually a 9 to 7, 9 to 8, I wasn't going to be able to be the mother that I wanted to be, and I wasn't going to be there for Emily. So I thought about starting my own business and doing admin work. So doing admin work for people. I'd been a secretary back in the dark ages. I knew, I know how to type. I know how to figure stuff out, and I liked the sort of office-ish kind of work. And that isn't what I ended up doing as a virtual assistant. It's funny. I just wrote an article yesterday. It came out on, being in corporate doesn't necessarily help you as a VA. But it is that sort of routine of working with a computer and, things like that seemed familiar to me. So I just started telling everybody that I knew what I was up to. I was available for admin work. I was available to help. And I mentioned it to one of the dads at the school bus stop, and he was thrilled. And we decided to work together. He had just started a new business. I had no idea. I thought he had a job, and he was drowning in all this administrative details. So I did things for him, like I paid his bills. I think I set up payroll for his employees. I wasn't an employee. I was a contractor, but I installed software. I set up his QuickBooks. I knew how to do that from my own personal experience and also from working in an office, and it went really well. And then my next client I met at a wedding in the buffet line. And so the takeaway there is that tell everybody you know what you're up to, because you never know where you're going to get clients. I could tell you hundreds of stories for myself and for my students about how you actually get clients. So we're going to fast forward here, I've been in business as a virtual assistant since 2010. My business has been very successful. I've worked with over 200 clients, and over the 12 years that I've been in business, I've made well over $1 million. And I did that from home. Helping other people with their businesses. And it's been a great career for me. It's been a great career choice. I have lots of flexibility. I still work really hard. I still put in the hours. But I get to decide when that's going to be. And we're going to talk about that today, as well as we talk about boundary setting. And here's what it looks like today. So this is my husband, Greg. We got married in 2021. These are our kids, Emily, David, Charlie, Stephen, and Andy. And this was on our wedding day. And life is really different now. Life is really different. My finances are handled. The taxes are filed. I'm not running around making minimum payments. I don't remember the last time my cell phone got turned off, but it used to get turned off a lot because I would forget the bill, or I didn't have the money. And, it just wasn't, I didn't have my eye on the ball. And starting this business and leaning into my life and starting to believe that I could have what I wanted was huge. It was really, really huge. And I know a lot of you are in that position. You want that. You want that freedom. You want to have your own business. You want to be in charge of your hours. And at the core of that is boundaries. And that's why we're going to talk about that today. So let's see who's here. All right. So Heather's here from Chattanooga, and Clara is here. Hello, Happy New Year. And we have someone here from Indonesia. So very exciting, you guys. Very exciting. All right, so let's jump in, okay? So this is why I decided to talk about this. Very often someone will come to me and they're serious, and it always catches my attention. They say, I need different clients. My clients they're asking me to do things on the weekends and at midnight, and in the next 5 minutes, and I need different clients. I need a different kind of client. That's what I hear. But so the thing is if you have 3 or 5 or 1 or whatever clients who are not taking your boundaries seriously, you are the common denominator, right? You are the one who needs to set the boundaries. And we're going to talk about what a boundary is. We're going to talk about how to do that. But you need to know you are in charge of your boundaries, okay? You are in charge of your boundaries. Because what happens is we'll set them, and then we don't enforce them. And you can do that in a way that doesn't have to feel like you're being mean or you're not helpful. You can absolutely do that. So let's dive in, okay? Okay, so a boundary is a line that marks the limits of an area. Okay, so it's really simple, right? It marks the limits of an area, the limits of your time, the limits of your work, the limits of your availability. But I want to know, and I really want to hear from you guys, how many of you pour a ton of emotion into your boundary setting, right? You think about, what are they going to think? What if I don't help them fast enough? What if they find someone else? And what happens as a result is that everything is so emotionally charged, right? So tell me if that happens to you, because I'd really like to hear. Right, of course, right? It's very emotionally charged, and I'm going to walk through a couple of scenarios that I've been through recently, and I have to remember too, and take my own advice. So the first thing is that so let's say we have a discovery call, okay? And we tell them our boundaries. We work 9 to 5. We don't work on the weekends. This is what you can expect. And then we follow up with an email that explains all that. And if you're in VA school or the VIP club, you have my template email available to you right in those programs. So you can go and look and see the welcome letter, okay? Now, clients may or may not read that letter. They may or may not remember what's in that email, okay? But the thing is that, think about it. these are your boundaries. So you're letting them know, but just telling them once and then walking away from it and then expecting them to, really expecting them to remember, to care, right? Because they're assuming you're an adult, right? You're a grown up too, and that you're going to let them know what you need. Okay, they're going to let you know what you're going to let them know what you need. So I kind of think of them as rules of the road, because to me, it just, I like rules. They don't make me feel constrained in any way. They make me feel safe. Like, okay, I already said I'm not working on Tuesdays at 3, or, whatever the boundary is, or on the weekends. And so I get to just look at that sort of rule and decide how I want to handle it. Now, there's a couple of things. One is that just because your clients are working on the weekend doesn't mean that they're expecting you to. So I want you to look at those emails and those requests and make sure that you're not reading something into it. Because I email my team on the weekends all the time, because that's when I'm working on my business. But I don't expect them to do it. They have a choice. If they want to work on the weekend and make some money, great. But if they wait till Monday, I'm not upset at all. That goes for, like, my graphics guy. Like last night, I had an idea. I wanted his help. I had zero expectation that he was going to answer me last night. My expectation is that he's going to get back to me sometime today. Depending on what the request is, it could be 2:00. So the thing is that you want to make sure that you're not the one creating the problem, first of all. The other thing is, I want you to know that people who are smart, and this goes with all relationships, watch what people do, not what they say. Because I could say that I'm not going to work at 6:00 at night, and then a client sends something to me at 6:00 and I do it. The behavior is what trains people, right? It's the behavior that trains people. So that's really important. So let's see. Someone says, I used to be so emotional about boundaries in the beginning. I find it is so much easier for both me and my clients if I take all the emotion out. It's just factual. Okay, ready? You and I are right here. Remove the emotion, right? You have to remove the emotion because it's just not necessary. It's not necessary. No one's doing anything to you. They're doing something, and we're going to talk about in a minute, that we get to decide how we feel about it. Okay. So so there's a couple of reasons why we let go of our boundaries. Okay. So the first one is that there's two big emotions. One is fear. Okay. So fear that your clients are going to go away if you don't jump every time they call. Okay. So you jump, right? And then they expect you to jump because you're jumping, right? The other is people pleasing, right? Putting other people first at all costs. So let me tell you something about that. That makes people really uncomfortable. When I feel like someone is doing something that to please me that I don't expect or want, it bugs me. And I'm sure I'm not alone. It's like, why are you doing that? I don't need that. I can ask for what I need, and I don't need that, So you want to make sure that it's kind of like, when people are putting themselves down or apologizing all the time, it makes the other person uncomfortable. This also can have that effect, which is the very last thing. If I'm asking someone to do something and they keep putting themselves out, and I feel like they're doing me a favor, I'm going to either look for someone else, or I'm going to stop sending it to them, because I don't like that feeling of that emotion that they're sending to me. So think about that. Okay. Now, the other thing is, when we don't keep our boundaries, here's what happens. Okay. We get burnt out. We get ticked. We get resentful. We're not giving our best service because we're mad. And for those of you who have been students of mine, that I have something that I run. I run my decisions through the, is this going to make me mad filter? Okay, so here's how that works. My client, Sarah, she publishes on Thursdays. And she lets me know on Friday, the Friday before, that she's publishing. Sarah is a last minute person. I love her. She's been so generous to me, so nice. I enjoy her, but I have to keep my boundaries because she is the last minute person. Now, when she sends me So we have rules and we kind of joke about them, So one time I made a pretty big mistake. I scheduled her newsletter for 10 o'clock at night instead of 10 o'clock in the morning. And what I said to her when I realized that, she said, "Where's my newsletter? Did it go out?" And I looked and I was like, "Oh my gosh." And I said to her, "Because we are working in the last minute, I am making mistakes. In order for me to provide my best work for you, I need to have your newsletter by Tuesday night before you go to bed if we're going to publish on Thursday." She understood that. It was clear. It wasn't, "You have to do this," or "I'm going to do that." It was just very unemotional, right? In order for me to give you my best work, which I want to do, this is what I need. And she does it. Okay. Now, if she comes to me and says, I'm running late, how does this fit with your schedule? If it's in the summer and it's a Wednesday night, I say, "I have plans tonight," because every single Wednesday in the summer, I go to a concert in my town. They're free, they're fabulous. If it's tomorrow and Wednesday and Greg is playing paddle and Emily's at college and I'm alone and I just think, okay, that's not going to make me mad. I could do that. I don't have any other plans. Then I tell her that. But I say to her, yes, that fits into my schedule, right? I decide. Okay. Now, the thing that I want to make sure you know is that attitude is everything. Attitude is everything. And because we're in a service industry, it's important that we have sort of I think of it as, what is it? The Four Seasons hotel. It's like, or maybe it's the Ritz-Carlton. I don't remember. But instead of like, "No problem," it's like, "My pleasure. How can I help you?" It's a language of generosity. So when a client, I'm going to give you the exact words for how to talk to a client if they come in on your boundaries, but I don't want you to get kind of badass about it. I don't want you to have an attitude or really break the spirit of being in service and being generous. Okay. So all you have to do is just hold that space, and it requires so much less emotion, right? So much less emotion than we give to it. And all you really have to do is decide ahead of time how you're going to handle it, right? And then do it. Okay? All right, good. So we teach people how to treat us. That's right. Hello, Kakoya. Yeah, we totally do. Yep. And Tammy says, "I've never thought about it that way." Yes. Yeah. It's interesting. We don't think about, we think that our behavior is being super helpful. But it just kind of feels a little icky when people are too available. Not available. It's kind of like being a little ass kissy, right? Sorry for the swearing. I don't usually do that, but I can't think of a better way to say it, right? It's like nobody really likes it. Brown nosing, I guess, is another way of saying it. Okay. All right. So we've decided what we're going to do. We remove the emotion. We run it through the, "Is this going to make me mad?" filter, right? And we make our decision. I make every decision through the "Is it going to make me mad?" filter, because if I do that, then I've decided ahead of time, no, it's not going to make me mad. So if, this goes for like paying for Emily's gas money, or, helping her, whatever it is, or Greg wants to buy something for his kids, or, I just think, okay, let's just think about that. Is that going to make me mad in any way? And if the answer is yes, then there's a discussion, right? Like, okay, so what if we did this and not that? Or sometimes I just decide, okay, I don't love this, but I'm going to do it because it's important for another reason. And that's a decision too. So I'm very clear about when something happens, I treat it like a decision that I'm responsible for. Okay. Oh, good. So someone says, "I started using that filter now." Yeah. "Is it going to make me mad?" filter. Yes. It helps a lot, doesn't it? And I've seen people in my family, my extended family, give gifts that were not asked for and then be really mad if they're not used. I don't know if that's ever happened to any of you, but I watched this happen. I was like, wow, they didn't ask for that. And now you're mad because they're not using it, but it's you who thought they needed it. They didn't think they need it. So, what's up with that? So it's the same thing, with just setting expectations for other people, like, giving something because you want them to have it and then it's their choice what they do with it is very different from giving someone something you think they need, right? Okay, so emotion. All right. Now I'm going to give you some examples, but what I want you to know is that how you feel is a choice. How you feel is a choice. So someone could send you a text message Friday afternoon or Saturday afternoon and say, can you help me with this? And you have a couple of choices. You can answer the text. You cannot answer the text. You can say, oh, wow, they're texting me on Saturday. I'm busy. Or you could get really mad. I cannot believe this person is texting me again. What the heck? Blah, 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 blah. But it's like, and every client's not a good fit. I had one client who she would email me work and she would send me like literally 15 emails contradicting them each other, back and forth, involving other people, really emotional. It was like her brain was somewhere else. And I let her go because it was so stressful for me to have to deal with all of her emotions. And she's no longer a client. So, if someone just can't pull it together, there's someone else out there that will help them. And since your job is to always be bringing in a steady flow of clients, you don't have to worry about it, because if one or two people go here or there, it's a natural part of your business. And part of that could be you deciding that you're not going to work with someone anymore. Okay. But what I used to do with Isabel is if she would email me, at 8 o'clock in the morning, can you do this right now? I would not reply to the email till 10, and tell her I could do it at 3, because it was always like that. Now, if I have clients that are not like that and they're having a true emergency, like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot to do this. Can you help me? You bet. I'll stand on my head and I'll help them. And, that just creates, a good relationship. But when it's someone's lifestyle, I don't do that. Hello, Stacy. Welcome. Happy New Year. Okay, so all right, so let's talk about some specific examples. These examples happened to me in the last couple of months. So my client emails me Thursday night at 7:30. Right, so that's after hours. It's about a task that he wants me to handle, and then at 8:30 the next morning, he texts me to make sure I got the email. Okay, so I could do a couple of things. I could apologize. Oh yes, I'm sorry, but I'm not working yet. I start answering clients at 9 o'clock in the morning and I stop answering them at 5:30 or 6 the night before. That's reasonable. Okay. It's probably more than reasonable. So what I did was I waited until 9 o'clock when my day starts, and I texted back, I'll take a peek when I get to my desk and get back to you. Do you notice I am not jumping up and down? Okay. Now, and I did, and it was important. And so here's the thing to remember. So what he wanted me to do was he wanted me to set a meeting with somebody. Now I know that he has been wanting to meet with this person for a long time. And he, in his world, between 7:30 at night and 8:30 in the morning, the next morning, that's 13 hours of elapsed time. So for him, it's 13 hours. But in the reality of work, it's not even on the radar yet. Okay. So you want to keep that in mind too. Clients they get anxious. They get all the things that we get, right? We just don't want to play into that. And in a lot of ways, I think us being calm in the face of crazy, it goes a long way toward a really strong relationship, because they know they can count on you to be consistent. They know they can count on you. Now, so let's talk about a different scenario. Okay. So let's say a client emails me on Saturday and they ask me to do work for them that afternoon. Again, if it's someone who I love, who's always good to me, and they just screwed up and I can help. Now, I'm not going to go, let's say I'm shopping at the mall. and I have my laptop in my purse. I'm not going to go to the car and do it. Okay. I can say, I'm not home. I'll be home at 4. Can I do it then? I'm happy to help you, in this situation, kind of thing. Right now. So when I got the email at, what did I say, at 10 a.m. or wait, sorry, hold on. I moved my notes. when I got the email on Saturday, I didn't respond to them. I just didn't respond to them. I was away from my desk. I was enjoying the weekend, and I don't work on the weekends. Okay. So what I said was on Monday morning about 10 a.m., not 6 a.m., right? And if you're at your desk at 6 and that's your deal, that's fine too, but I am not. So I said, hi, so and so. I was away from my desk and enjoying the weekend, just seeing this. I can fit it into my work queue at 3 o'clock today. Does that work for you? Okay. So I want you to, what words were missing? What words were missing from that you may or may not put in there? I'm sorry. I did not say I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm not being a brat about it either. I'm just like, I was away from my desk enjoying the weekend. I'm just seeing this now. There's no emotion in that. There's no charge. There's no nothing, right? I'm sorry. That's right. That's right. Okay. So just relaxing. And if somebody starts getting wrapped around the axle, like my former client, Isabel, where she just keeps sending email after email, like rapid fire, and none of them make sense. I've said this before, but in that case, I watch her like television, like, wow, she's going crazy. Like, what's going on? And if I can help her, yes. But if she's just on some kind of whatever, in her life, there's not a lot I can do about that. Okay. So remember, and this goes for everything, how you feel is a choice. How you feel is a choice. So here's the result. The clients that I want to work with, they respect me. They treat me with courtesy. They treat me with kindness. And I want to read to you an example of an email that I got from a client recently, because I know some of you haven't had client interaction yet, and you're thinking about it in a way that maybe you were treated in a job, which is without respect, right? And without consideration, Okay. So here's an email that I got just recently. Okay. So it says, "Hi, Belinda. I'm wrapping up my email newsletter draft today and expect to send it to you by tonight. Will you have time to do your magic and schedule it to go out via MailChimp next Tuesday or Wednesday?" So she's giving me all of this notice. Happy summer, Emily. Okay. Not my Emily. It's a different Emily. Okay. Now, I bet you would like to have that email in your inbox, right? And when you come to your clients with a service mentality, abundance mentality, yes, I can do that. I'm happy to help you. All of those things from a place of being grounded and confident, or faking it until you can get confident. I mean, my heart used to race every time I would talk to a client because I wanted to please them. I wanted them to like me. I wanted to do good work. I wanted them to be happy. I wanted them to pay me. I wanted all that stuff. But what happened is when I learned to calm down, I am a much better decision maker. I'm a much better helper to my clients. I was looking at my LinkedIn recently, and one of my clients, Diane Ripstein, wrote a really great testimonial for me. And she said something like, "Unflappable under stress." I was flapped. We have had some stressful things happen in front of other people with her and other clients. The difference is that I don't freak out. I just think, okay, we have to solve this. What are we going to do? So to her, I'm unflappable. And the more you can be like that, the better. And then you get used to it. And then you start to say to yourself, oh, I can solve problems. Like hit me with your best shot. Like I could figure this out, and it starts to be more and more comfortable. So you will get comfortable with it over time. Just remember that everyone won't appreciate your boundaries, and that's okay. Take the emotion out, take the charge out. Don't waste cycles of emotion or your life talking about how crazy they are. Just fix it. Right? And I've given you several ways that you can do that. Good. Okay, so we're at the top of the hour, which is awesome. Before we go, I just want you to know that we are kicking off the VA Client Kickstart Challenge again. It's going to be January 16th, and my team and I, we are getting ready. We're getting all this stuff organized, and I would love, love, love for you to join us. So if you've done the challenge before, do it again. Even if you're in VA school or the inner circle or VIP, wherever you are in our community, everyone is welcome. Absolutely. The more, the merrier. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend 5 days talking specifically about how to get a steady stream of clients into your VA business. Lots of information. There's a workbook. There's all kinds of, and there is a replay. A lot of people ask me, is there a replay? Because people have other obligations. Yes, there's absolutely a replay. So go on over to vachallenge.info, sign up, join the pop-up Facebook group, and let's jump into a community of like-minded people who want the same thing as you. And we'll do it together, right? We'll do it together. You'll make some friends. It'll be really fun. Okay, you guys, thank you for coming. I hope this was useful. So have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.